Whenever I talk about reasons why I don't think Sony should do day and date games on PC, one of the big things that I talk about is the issue regarding people pirating the games and things like that. And I interact with probably only a handful of PC gamers, which is fine because I think to each their own. But and I know not everybody does this, but it is a real shame that they've already cracked Forza Horizon 5, and this is a huge issue that could lead to, it could damage sales for games, which obviously it does. I mean, this is one of the reasons why Rockstar usually waits a year before they put their stuff on PC. But, again, we're going to get into this, and I think this is going to be a hot topic, and I'm really excited for it. Hey there, everyone. I'm the Crap Gamer, and this, of course, is Crap Gamer Reviews, your home for gaming news, opinions, reviews, and much more. You'll probably notice a lot of the cool changes around here, but that shouldn't stop you from giving us a like and possibly even consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. Thank you so much for choosing to spend some of your free time with me and my silly YouTube channel. Now, as you guys might have noticed, Forza Horizon 5 hasn't officially launched yet, but it has gone with the, if you were one of the ones that actually picked up the extra content and stuff like that, you can get it a special edition that allows you to actually play it 5 days early, 4 or 5 days early, something like that. So that's something that a lot of people are doing right now, but it also came out that the game is actually cracked and being torrented right now. Now listen, I'm not a huge PC guy or technology guru or anything like that. I have a PC and it's decent, but at the end of the day, you could just search, like Google search, and pretty much find any game you want. And this is true with PlayStation's games as well. Days Gone, Horizon Zero Dawn, Death Stranding. These games have all been cracked and are being torrented as we speak to a high degree. Now, the interesting thing is whenever I bring this up on Twitter, right, or social media or anywhere in conversation, people go, "Oh, well, it's not really a big deal anymore. They've really cracked down on it." This game, hey, Forza Horizon 5 got cracked in 0 days. In 0 days, it got cracked before it even released. Meaning, there's people that are playing that right now that paid $0 for this game, while people who, like me, who are paid for the regular edition, still have to wait to play the game. It's kind of a ridiculous situation, and there's not going to be any repercussions because even if they do eventually get caught, they just create another free account, right? So one of the things that I keep arguing with, obviously people are going to have a disagreement or disagree with what I'm saying. It's not about who gets to play the games per se. It's about, for me personally, I want consoles to survive. One of the things I warned about when Xbox was going day and date, I said, well, this is going to mean less player pool on the console, and they're probably going to start doing crossplay and force crossplay to fill in the gap, and that's exactly what's happened. Eventually when Halo Infinite starts getting low in the player base, they'll start forcing crossplay and people have to kind of deal with that or whatever, and that's just the way it's going to be, right? They did it with Gears of War 5. They're like, oh, no, you can disable crossplay, and now, the player pool's so small that there's no choice but to do that, and that's a little bit of an unsettling situation. PlayStation, to be honest with you, is the only console that allows you to disable crossplay with like Warzone and things like that and other games, because there's a large enough player pool there to play the game. So we do have that to kind of look at and say, okay, well, Crap Gamer was right about that. Well, what else? Well, if games are going day and date on PC, we've never had that situation where that's happened with Xbox and PlayStation. And yes, console players like consoles. I totally agree and get that. The thing that I don't think people realize is there's never been a situation where both have been available like that, and to get both consoles would usually cost you well over $1,000, where according to Steam's own survey, only 18 million people have a PC that is surpassing what the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 can do. Meaning all the other hundreds of millions of people that are gaming on Steam have something that they're lucky to get 1080p out of. So they're not really caring about, 4K or any of that kind of stuff. They just want to be able to play the games. And again, you have people that have both, right? Like, I'm to the point where I feel like if there ever was a situation where, both are day and date, why not just get a pre-built small PC and just play your stuff there? First of all, you're going to pay less for that than you're going to pay for the two consoles. Second of all, you're not going to have to pay to play online. Just at bare minimum, let's just say on face value, you're paying $60 a year for gold, $60 a year for PlayStation Plus. That's $120 a year. That's a crazy amount of money, right? So not only are you paying $1,000 for these consoles, $1,100 for these consoles, but in 5 years' time, you're actually paying, $600 for online, and it can get a little bit crazy expensive, and considering. And then there is the option to play the cheaper games on the PC as well. Like, games aren't $70 there; they're like $50. So again, there's a ton of reasons. Like, the consideration is there in the back of my mind if that happens, and it's not because other people can play the game. It's just simply because, first of all, like I said, you got to have a reason to own something in the first place, right? And the reason to own these games or these consoles is the content, and the player pool and things like that. If the reasons are taken away, then there's no reason to own it, and you can even consider, taking something small and like a small pre-built or whatever, and just play it. And they make them much simpler these days, and that's coming from me. You know what I mean? So I mean, we'll have to see how that works out. But the fact that this has already been cracked, man, I feel bad for the developers. I feel bad for Microsoft. I feel bad for a lot of people that are involved with this, and they have have this crazy idea that this never happened. Still, it's just crazy to believe. I just would hate to see, like, people don't believe it, but how would putting your stuff day and date on PC not cut into your sales, all right, and not cut into the money? And you want to see these companies be successful. That's the main thing. Like, if somebody has a PlayStation 5 and a cheap-ass PC, and they can get a game for free or for $50 instead of $70, why would they pay the $70? I mean, that's, it's crazy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand, especially on the single player games. Those tend to get pirated a lot more. So it's really, you just kind of scratch your head a bit, and you just go, well, what's the thought process that Sony would have to do? Like, I hope they never do it for that reason. They could put everything on PC 2 years later, and I wouldn't bat an eyelash. I honestly would not care. But it's like, doing those things day and date would definitely chase people off. I know people would say, oh, well, no, people are still going to buy consoles. We can look at the facts. EA said that Microsoft was at 31 million Xbox One sold in 2016. 2016 happens to be the year Microsoft went day and date with everything. Fast forward to 2020 in March, and AMD said that Xbox One had sold 41 million. So from 2013 to 2016, they sold 31 million consoles. From 2016 to 2020, they only sold 10 more million consoles. So it just goes to show you, and I'm sure that's not the only reason. I mean, obviously the lack of games and stuff like that really hurt, but if you look at how things are selling right now, the Xbox One was already at 10 million compared to the Xbox Series X and S at 7 million. So, we have a very different kind of situation. And yes, it can be harder to find the Series X, but Series S's are all over the place. And, I just hate to see, Sony do this to themselves, because there's always going to be these leaks and people are going to run with it. Like, oh man, Horizon Zero Dawn is going to come out next year on PC too. I would honestly highly doubt that. I'm sure it will in a couple years, but I just would highly doubt that it would come out next year. And I just think that, people would hold Sony's feet to the fire. They made a promise. They said at least 2 years with games, and I think people would speak out about that, and it would tank their sales, right? I mean, if they actually, I thought, had a chance for the PlayStation 5 to outsell the PlayStation 2. And, the fact that they have these things going to PC and the rumors of these, people are just going to wait. Like, you don't understand. Like, people tend to be cheap. Just look at Game Pass, right? Like, I'm not knocking Game Pass. Like, I think there's definitely a reason for it to exist. But if you look at a big reason, people flex that they don't have to buy games anymore. That's a flex to them. Like, I don't get it, because that's not a flex to me. But they're like, oh, well, I don't got to buy games. You're paying $70. I don't got to buy a game. And I'm like, well, that's not a flex. You know what I mean? I just, like, people have really gotten into this mode where they think it's such a good thing to never own their games. And, I'm sure Microsoft loves that. But, for me personally, I think that the games need to continue to sell well, and and I like to own my games. And I just feel like it's such a weird thing to think that it's bad to actually buy your games. But, with that being said, I think this is a weird topic to talk about, but I'm sure you guys have something to say on it. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Let me know. Sound off, rate, comment, subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Again, huge red flag. This is why Sony should definitely avoid doing this in the future. Rack 'em up, fact 'em up, Crap Gamer 'em up. Crap Gamer out.
Turns out, the same people as always, dropping the facts. It's not cross-gen.